First and foremost, good morning, New You Life family. I'm Stoney Tanner. I'm the head of U.S. Sales here at New You Life. And I'm here with none other than our VP of Sales, Mr. Steve Perkins.
Hey, everybody.
We're glad to be here together. Frankly, that doesn't happen a lot these days, does
No.
it? We're just glad to get to spend a few minutes with you. I really want to take just a second and talk to you about what's coming. We have some amazing things that are kind of teed up. This is our first event of the new year. It's actually our first really broadcast like this, where we're getting a chance to do what we're calling a leadership training, right?
Absolutely.
This is all for coordinators and above. And this particular leadership training, we're excited just to share some things with you that we know will be valuable. And I think, Steve, it's probably a reflection of maybe our investment in them. We want them to know how important they are to us, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And how much they mean to us.
I mean, you look at it, I think you look at this group right now, this group of, if you're sitting there watching this, most of you have built some sort of New You Life business. And you're a coordinator or a coach or a life coach or ambassador, or even diamonds are out there, and each one of us has the potential to continue to grow our business and continue to improve. And I think it's important for us as a company to make sure that, one, you're recognized for the incredible things you do, and two, that we invest in you. And that's what this training's all about today, is investing in you. And when we mean that, we mean legitimately. We've paid for the assessment. We've wanted you to be a part of this because we really wanted this to be of great value to you. So I'm excited about this morning. It's awesome.
I am too, and I think as these guys start talking about their strengths, and I'm hoping you talk about that for just a minute, but talking about their strengths and what they can gain from here, I can see this making a massive impact for them moving forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. And maybe I'll just introduce it, if that's okay,
do.
a little bit. So what we've done is we've partnered with Eddie Villa. And Eddie Villa knows the industry very well. He's coached thousands of people, and he's what we call an expert or a certified trainer in Clifton Strengths. So everybody at home should have filled out their assessment. And you guys should have actually printed out or have at your disposal your strengths. And what we wanted to do today is actually go through with Eddie how those strengths can help you in your New You Life business. Now, we went through this training, right? Yeah, I've honestly, I'll be really blunt here. I've been through a lot of these trainings. I've been in the industry, as you have, for more years than I would like to count.
Exactly.
And this training really had an impact on me. And the reason I think it's different, it just doesn't say, hey, you're a red, and therefore you're that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Actually, I like some of those tests, but I always felt like it was interesting to learn about myself, but then I walked away and there really wasn't anything I could take away. And so we invited Eddie and actually went through this training to kind of vet it and see if it was something that could be of value to our leaders. And what we found, at least what I found, was this incredible training that really spoke to me, because it wasn't about a category that I was assigned to. It was more about who are you and how can you apply that to build your business or have success in your life or in your marriage or your family or really with friendships. It's a really cool idea. And so what we want to do is, when we went through this assessment, I was hesitant. I'll be perfectly honest. I was like, okay, I've done one or two of these. Eddie really, I think, did a good job of just kind of explaining what the purpose of what he was trying to do. And more importantly, and this is the big point I want to make, as you go through this training, the idea is not, take what comes to you, and obviously you're going to take notes and write some things down, but what I get really excited about is I believe this training has things that can be applied into your New Life business, and that's what I get excited about. That's when training, kind of when the rubber meets the road, right? My hope is you guys take this training, you take what Eddie tells you, and you say, okay, now, how does that change how maybe I approach a prospect? Or build a list, right? Fundamentally, the business is the same. We're not going to tell you we're doing something completely different and changing the way you do your business. What we are going to do is say, hey, maybe if I approach it this way, or if I leverage this strength to call or text someone, I think that's really where this training becomes powerful. I know you went through it.
No, you're exactly right. And I think, honestly, that's what I learned. I realized that because of my strengths, I do things a particular way. And it doesn't mean I can't do other things. It just means if I understand what those strengths are, then I do those in the way that I do them best. And it really empowers you to go out and create what you want to create. And I love that piece of that. And I'm really hoping, like you said, that as you guys work through this, that comes through for you, that you find out how that connection's made, how you do the things you do best. And frankly, like he'll tell you, that's enough. Right?
Yeah. Well, let's quit telling them what it is. They're about to do it. So let me tell you this. So here's what it is. I want you to go in with an open mind. Go in with an open mind of how this can help your New Life business. This is a 90-minute training, so make sure you got your water next to you. Popcorn, make sure you're set. I can promise you it is worth every minute of your time. I'm excited about this, and I think this can really, really help your New Life business.
Absolutely, me too. Here you go, guys. Here's Eddie.
All right. Hello, everybody at New You Life. I am so absolutely grateful to be here to share something amazing with you all that's going to make a big difference in your life and business. And I just want to say thank you to those amazing people at New You Life for allowing me the opportunity to share something that I am so passionate about. And I'm passionate about it because it's something I love talking about. And I see it having a massively positive effect on people's businesses. People are making more money with more joy. And actually, even as a side effect, they start to see how being who they are works so well with every other aspect of their life. So, what I'm going to take you through, my friends, is a little journey to help you see what is amazing about you, how to apply it to every aspect of your business to help you get what you really want and why you're doing this. So, my friends, let's have some fun. Let's get started. All right. So, I've got some slides that we're going to go through. So, here's what I want you to do before we kind of get into this. I want you to make sure you've got a nice thick notebook. I want you to make sure you got at least one or two really good pens because I'm going to give you a lot of info. And I also want you to make sure that you have your strengths report with you, and not just the regular strengths report that shows all the different strengths in order. What I also want you to make sure you have is a strengths report part that shows the short descriptions and the long descriptions of what each of the strengths actually are. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about what that means a little bit later, but I just want you to make sure you have these tools available. And one last thing, my friends, do not, and I repeat, do not multitask during this. I want you to stay focused. I want you to stay with me. Give yourself the gift of a little over an hour that to help you see something glorious that's going to make a difference in your life. And I don't want you to miss a single second of it because everything I teach is specifically laid out for you step by step. And I don't want you to miss a second of it because it could really impact your results. All right. So is it okay to be selfish? Is it okay to just kind of focus with me? Have a notepad and pen and get ready to, my friends, get ready to learn something amazing about you. All right. I'm excited. Let's get started. All right. Here's what we're going to be doing. This is today's agenda. All right. First thing we're going to be doing is get inspired by what's awesome about strengths. And what that really means is connect with what's awesome about you. Okay. We're going to talk a lot about what that means and why that's valuable and why it's important. We're also going to learn the step-by-steps on how to apply your strengths. That means being who you are and knowing and discovering how being who you are will always work. And then we're going to move forward with your strengths in your business. And we'll talk about prospecting, inviting, closing, and mentoring. All these things that are important to a successful network marketing business, right? We're going to talk about how your strengths show up in all these different areas. So let's get started. First off, I just want you all to know a little bit about me because it's important that you understand my journey. And the reason why I want you to come along with me in my story is so that you can see what is your next step and how this is going to impact you, what I'm about to share with you. So first off, I'm a father to 7. I have 6 girls and a boy, and I'm married to a very powerful influencer. She's incredible. And we've been married 18 years now, going on 19. I've been an entrepreneur since 2011, a certified Gallup strengths coach, which means I have the certification through Gallup. And also, I'm a 6-figure earner in network marketing. My wife and I built a network marketing business that generates a significant income for our family. And then I also have a 6-figure earner in coaching, which means I've also created a second 6-figure business with my coaching programs. And this, my friend, is why I'm here. Okay. So I'm here with you, for you, to support you, because in 2015, I decided that I would stop hating who I was. You see, it's important for you all to know that in 2011, when I got started on my entrepreneurial ventures, I had been fired for the second time in 60 days. And I want you to understand how that caused major rifts and problems for me. In 2011, I was fired for the second time. And at that time, we had 5 children. And I blamed myself for everything. The way trauma works, my friends, is that trauma is a way of having you hate who you are. And so I went on this mission to prove to God and the world that who I was wrong. The personality he gave me was wrong. He messed up. He made a mistake, right? And I was trying to prove to everybody that I was of no value. And the funny thing about trying to prove something, when you go about trying to prove that you can or can't do something, you end up winning. You end up actually being right. And after 3 years of hating who I was, and by the way, let me just explain why I know I hated who I was. This is why I know I hated who I was. I would wake up in the morning and I would hit the snooze button, about 7 or 8 times, basically telling the world I'm not good enough, for you. And then I would get in the shower and I would put shampoo in my hands and I would rub it into my hair, right? And as I was rubbing it in my hair, I would say things like, Eddie, you got to do better. Eddie, you've got to, it was like, it sounded like motivational talk, but it was actually abuse. Like, Eddie, you said you were going to do this and you didn't. You got to do it today. You said you were going to spend more time with your kids and you didn't. You got to do that today. You said you were going to take your wife on a date, but you didn't. You got to do that today. Eddie, you said you were going to help people with your business and you're not, and you got to do that today. It sounded like uplifting a motivational talk, but it was abuse. Because every single day I did this, it just committed to me the truth that who I was not enough and that I was a failure. So in 2015, I decided right when I was about to lose my marriage, lose my family, lose access to the business that we started, everything, because I hated myself so much, I decided to go on a mission to prove that I was of value. And so when I stopped hating who I was, I joined my wife in building that network marketing business. Like, I actually became active and we moved it. In 2015, we moved it up to $7 million in volume a month in about 3 years, right? Right now, we teeter between 8.5 and 9 million a month. Okay. And so that's what happened as a result of choosing to believe that I'm valuable. But in 2018, I was introduced to strengths. And when I was introduced to strengths, I needed to know everything about them because it helped me see that there was a way that I could articulate who I was, or articulate my value, or consciously apply what I'm good at to my life and business. That's what made a huge difference for me. I wanted to know everything, though. At this time, I didn't know anything. And I was just looking at the strengths assessment like any other personality test out there, like as if it was serving only to group me. I don't know about you all. I hate personality tests because I never believed I belonged to a group. I believed that who I was something unique and different, just like everybody else. And so when I learned that strengths was basically showing me that, which I'm going to teach you all today how that works, I needed to know how it worked. I needed to know what to do with these strengths once I got my report. I opened up my full 34 report instead of just the top 5, and I went to work. And how I go to work was this. I decided to stop charging money for my coaching. And I just said, I'm just going to coach people for free just to understand these strengths. And so I worked with over 1,000 people in about a year. I was coaching somewhere between 2 and 4 people a day for an hour for free every day for about a year. And during that time, I stopped building our network marketing business with my wife. She was getting a little worried. All right. She was starting to wonder if I had lost it. Right. But I was becoming obsessed into something that wasn't bringing any income. But I stayed the course because I just knew that this could be something that would help me and our business go to another level. And I learned things while I was working with people that Gallup is not talking about. My friends, the training that you're going to get today is not strengths training you can get anywhere else in the world. This is my infinitely unique process of how to use strengths and how to apply them to everything you do. So when I started to realize that I was doing something that nobody else was teaching, I had to create something to help me help the world. So I created a paid community. This is a community where people paid to join because they told me they wanted this information. And all I did for a long time was just work with people every day, every week, every month, right? And helping them understand their strengths, but not just that, but also help them help other people understand their strengths. So it became this duplicatable process, especially and even in our business, to help us grow authentically. And in about 2 years, I had about a little over 2,000 people join. And that's when I realized, wow, what a powerful tool this is to help people love who they are through the process of making money, growing a business, improving their relationships, and so on. And I became a better coach. I became a better husband, a better father, a better son of God. And ultimately, I believed in me. I went from hating who I was to believing in my value and wanting to help other people do the same. That's what I'm here for. And in 2000, basically all this time, I I started to become this influencer online and helping many people to see their value. And that became the magic of what I do. Is I'm not trying to prove to people that they're good and wonderful. I'm helping them see it for themselves. And that's the magic of what we're going to be talking about today. And this is why I'm here. And since then, ultimately, now this going into 2021, this movement I'm a part of that I've started is evolving into next level. So the Unleash Your Strengths movement is now being translated into multiple languages, including Spanish and Dutch and French, and there's more to come. We're going global with this idea, and you're getting to be here right at the beginning as I'm really moving into another level. And of course, I'm teaching successful marketing, team development, confidence building principles that are also affecting people in every other aspect of their life. And I'm allowing people to be fully authentic when honoring the principles that work. And so today we're going to talk about how that works. And I want you all to kind of take advantage of this opportunity. But before we do that, I want you to get clear about what is it that you want. You are taking time out of your day to be here, to watch this. And there is a reason, there's something that you want. And I want you to pay close attention. So I'm looking at you right now. I'm sitting there with you, walking you through this process, and I'm asking you to tell me, what is it you want? I want you to write it down on paper. Just start writing right now. Start with I want and then go. Write one or two or maybe even three things that you want. What do you want your business to do for you? What do you want it to create for you? How do you want to do this? Right? I want you to be really honest about that, because some of you want to do this in a way that really like makes you want to connect with people and be around people all the time. Some of you don't want that at all. You just want to tell people what to do and get them to do it so that everybody makes money, right? Some of you want to inspire people with your words, and some of you want to just share an infinite amount of knowledge that you have and be inspired to learn more. You all have different motivations, but ultimately it's important for you to do is be really absolutely clear about what you want. So I'm going to be quiet for about 30 seconds and just let you sit in silence. Think about what you want and write it down. Write at least one thing down. Go. What is it you want? Okay. Now I'm an activator, which means I'm highly impulsive. So that quiet time was like an eternity for me. Probably wasn't even 30 seconds. So we're going to move on. All right. I'm hoping you've got clear though about at least something that you want. And don't worry, we didn't carve this in the stone. I just wanted you to practice paying attention to why you're here. And so let's talk about what's awesome about strengths. Now, this is what I tell people that gets people to take the assessment. So before I move on to the next slide, I'll give you a moment to take a screenshot of this or whatever, because I want you to be able to duplicate this and share this information with other people that'll inspire them to want to do this with you. Okay. And that's what network marketing is about, right? To inspire people to do things with you. So this is what I share with people. First, I want you to write down this number, 7.7 billion. I want you to write this down on paper. I want you to focus on how big that number is. It's important because what I'm going to share with you is to help you understand the story behind this number. So 7.7 billion is the number of people currently, about how many people live on the planet, okay? So roughly 7.7 billion, give or take, right? And the odds that someone else on this planet has the same strengths report as you do, that's what we're going to talk about. The chances that another person could even have the same report as you. So the first off, we're going to look at, you remember you've got your strengths from 1 through 34 in order, and the order does matter. The chances of another person having the same top 5 as you in different order, okay, scrambled order, is about 1 in 280,000. What that means is that if everyone on the planet took this strengths assessment, okay, and when I put you in a room with all those people, you would be in a room with about 27,500 people. Think of it like an arena and a concert, okay? It's about average, I think. So roughly 27,500 people, okay? So 1 in 280,000, that's the number. Now let's take a look at what are the chances of a person having the same top 5 in the exact same order. And remember, the order does matter. Okay. If I take your entire strengths report and I change strength number 1 and strength number 2, and I just move them, and move them from 2 to 1 and so on, it fundamentally changes things about you. So the order is extremely critical. But the chances of another person having the same top 5 as you in that exact same order is about 1 in 33 million. Now, if we were to take 33 million and put that in 7.7 billion, you're going to get about 234, which means that if we took you and that room full of 27,500 people and we shrunk you down to the people that have the same top 5 in the same order, it would be you and about 234 people out of the entire planet. Are you starting to see this? The chances of another person having the same top 6 in that same order is about 1 in 990 plus million. Okay, just under 1 in a billion chance that somebody else on the planet would have the same top 6 as you. What that means is about 8 to 10 people in the whole planet. Go ahead and take a screenshot of this before we move on to the next part. But ultimately, you're starting to see very quickly, we're running out of people here to compare ourselves to, okay? So the next thing is the chances of another person having the same top 7 in that same order is more than 1 in 8 billion. Now, how many people did we say was on the planet? About 7.7 billion. So with the top 7 in that same order, you are different than anyone else on the planet. Just from the top 7, you are different than anyone else on the planet. And guess what? You've got 34, my friends, 34 strengths. And the chances of another person having that same report from 1 through 34 is more than 1 in 130 billion. A lot more. A massive amount more than 1 in 130 billion. But the reason why I bring up 130 billion is that's what they estimate how many people will have been born on Earth, of course, by the year 2050. 130 billion people will have come into this planet, into this world by 2050. Which means, with your full 34 report, you are different than anyone ever. Take a screenshot of this. Take a screenshot right now. You are different than anyone that has ever been or ever will be. Okay, we're moving on to the next slide. This is what's awesome about you, my friends. And I want you to write this down. I am infinitely unique and cannot be duplicated. I am infinitely unique and cannot be duplicated. Say it. You'll feel truth coming through your body. I am infinitely unique and cannot be duplicated. Now, what this means, I want you to think about this. Whenever you go to trainings or programs or watch people on TV or whatever, these people that you follow, that you learn from, or you get inspired by, or otherwise you look up to, these people are also infinitely unique. That means all the people, the most successful people in New You Life, for example, right? These people are also infinitely unique and cannot be duplicated. What this means, my friend, is that comparing yourself to these people or anybody is irrelevant. Everyone has their own unique style and flair and way of doing things that you cannot duplicate. Not if you want to get what you truly want. Right? We can't get what we want by being something we're not. And so the best way to ultimately get what you want is to learn principles from successful people and apply them your way. Comparison is irrelevant. To compare yourself to anyone is a shutdown, especially if you've got competition somewhere between 25 and 34 on your strengths report. Comparing yourself to others will shut you down. And here's the thing, is these people, these great leaders and these whatever, when they're teaching you principles and when they're teaching you how they build a business, all they're teaching you is how they do things, what is their style and their flair. They cannot show you how to be you, but I can. And that's what we're here for. How to learn basic success principles with network marketing and to apply your own infinitely unique strengths so that you can get what you infinitely uniquely want. You have a set of combinations of skills and talents and perspectives that no one on the planet has. And when you own and love what that is, you bring that to the world and makes you infinitely more valuable. even amongst thousands and thousands of other people who are probably selling the same products and services that you offer, but they can't sell what you have to offer. You infinitely, uniquely have to offer. So we're going to talk about what that is. Now, the first thing, by the way, here real quick before I go ahead and take a screenshot of this if you need to. We're going to move on to the next part. The golden rule. Okay. This is the golden rule that you must write down because you're going to forget it somewhere during this presentation. And I'll point it out when you're probably going to forget it. It'll come. But I want you to remember this and write this down. This golden rule that I'm going to share with you on this, and I'll tell you when to take a picture of it. So strengths has nothing to do with what you can't do. So you can't look at your strengths report to try to find proof of something you're not good at. It's not in there. It's a strengths report, not a strengths and weaknesses report. We don't use the W word here, right? All we do is we focus on what's great about us and how to apply it to everything instead of try to be something we're not to get better at something we want to get better at. So strengths has everything to do with how you do everything your way, and it works, but only about 100% of the time, okay? And the thousands and thousands of people I've worked with over the last few years, I dare say it's up into the 10,000s, okay? I work with a lot of people every day. And what I've learned is that 100% of the time, they get results when they be who they are with their strengths report, okay? You get more money, better relationships, marriages, health, connection to God, everything. Your top 10 strengths, okay, are where you are all the things that you want to be: influential, creative, productive, and connect with other people, the right people, not just everybody, right? Some of you want to connect with some of you want to connect with the world. But ultimately, your top 10 strengths is where you do it all, your way, right? So if you've ever, for example, if you've ever been married, okay, I don't care if you're divorced or not. If you've ever been married, you're a salesperson, you're a closer, right? Okay, getting another person to say, I do, that's a sell, a big one. Okay, you can do it. If you've ever got a job, you convinced a company to give you money for your time. That is a sell. You sold yourself. You influenced them to invest in you. You were an influencer. You just did it your way. If you've ever made a friend, you're a relationship builder and you did it your way. If you've ever had an idea, you're a strategic thinker, but you just did it your way. If you've ever just got stuff done because you have to, right? You have it in you to be an executor, to get stuff done, but you do it your way. The bottom 5 strengths, okay, and we won't be able to talk a whole lot about this because we don't have a whole lot of time, but I want you to understand that's where when you go into your bottom strengths, it's because you're really doubting yourself or you're really holding yourself back, or dare I say, even comparing yourself. When then you pick up these and you try to do things with your bottom 5 strengths, you have the opposite effect. You hold other people back. You turn people off. You become boring, unproductive, and you disconnect from others. Go ahead and take a screenshot of this before we move on to the next one. I just want you to understand that everything that you want to do is found in your top 10 strengths. And some of you use 11, 12, 13, or 14, or even 15. And you can kind of go on that journey with me to help you understand that. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. First off, let's understand what keeps us from creating everything that we want. It's simply hesitation, okay? It's hesitation. Okay, so what is hesitation? Hesitation is when you're here, okay? Is when you're here and you want to be here. And what you do is you work, and at some point you stop. You stop for a certain reason, and we're going to get into what those reasons are. And most people think that when they hesitate, that it's acceptable to take time off, right? Thinking that they can take like a month or a week off, or a week or a month or whatever off, and then they can come back and pick up right where they left off and continue their journey. That's not true. That's not a thing. The universe is about movement. So you're either moving here or you're moving here. And so what happens is when you work, and you get to this point where you're worried something is being compromised, or you're worried that something is going to get in your way, or you're worried that, you don't have enough time or whatever, or you're worried about how your business is going to affect your family, things like that. You hesitate. And when you hesitate, depending on how long you hesitate, you start to roll backwards. This is why some people could say, I've been building my network marketing business for 3 years and I've gotten nowhere. And it's not because they've been actually working. If they were actually working, they would progressively be moving towards what they want. It's impossible to continue to work at something and improve and not keep moving forward in some way, shape, or form. But what's actually happening is that they stop, they take a week off, a month off, sometimes 6 months off, or a year off. Or in my case, I took 3 years off, 3 years of my life of moving backwards. And then they just go, okay, I'm ready now. And they come back to work. Oh, I don't know. This is probably compromising my health or my time or my energy or whatever. And as they start rolling back, oh, then they come back and then they start worrying about their family and their finances, if they have time, or if this is crazy, maybe people will think I'm crazy for doing this. And then they start to roll back. That's what hesitation is actually. And what I want you to understand is that's the main issue that we're solving. The hesitation in your own business and in the business of the people in your downline and in your organizations, your leaders and all those people. This is the solution, okay? So let's talk about what causes this hesitation and how strengths is the ultimate solution for that. So what is hesitation? Hesitation is two things. Hesitation comes when there's something you want to do and you doubt that you can do it by just being you. So you're thinking, okay, I got to do this, but being who I am is not going to work. So I'm going to have to be something I'm not. And that's when you hesitate. Okay. So ultimately that's one major issue. The second one is that hesitation also comes because there's something that you want to do, right? Like for example, you want to build your business, you want to prospect, you want to invite, you want to sell, you want to mentor, but you fear that something really important is being risked, whether it's relationships or it's creativity or it's time, right? Or it's the ability to inspire groups instead of individuals. If you fear that these things are being risked, then you'll hesitate. And so ultimately what I've learned is that the domains in your strengths report is the antidote to hesitation. It helps you to see not only what's causing the hesitation, but how to shift out of it and get back to being who you are when you're building your business. Okay. Now, the domains I'm referring to are the 4 categories that all the strengths are grouped into. Okay. And I want you to take a look at this list here up on the screen and go to your strengths report right now. And I want you to just look at your top 10, which Gay Hendricks in his book, The Big Leap, would refer to as your zone of genius. Okay. If you look at these 4 domains, take a look at your top 10 strengths. And I want you to count how many of these strengths you have in your top 10. How many relationship building, how many influencing, how many executing, and how many strategic thinking. And remember, okay, what we're looking for right now is what causes you to hesitate and what's going to allow you to shift out of it. Okay. So count how many right now. And I want you to pay close attention to the domains. Okay. Now, when I refer to domains, you'll hear me refer to them as domains or desires. Okay. So these domains represent a unique desire. Okay. Each of these domains has their own desire. So if you've got 3 or more of any of these strengths, there's a desire that you have when you're building your business that must be honored with everything you do so that you stop hesitating. Because the reason we hesitate is because we fear something we desire is being risked. And we'll talk about what the desires are for each individual domains. But keep in mind, if you've got 1 or 2 or 3 of 3 or more in your top 10, then either you're one of these desires or you're a mixture of 2 or 3, but only the ones you have 3 or more of. So if you've got, like, for example, 3, 3, 3, 1, right? Then that means that there are 3 desires that are important to you. If you've got, let's say, 6 relationship building, for example, right? A lot of you are going to have that. If you've got 6 or 7 relationship building strengths in your top 10, then it's that one thing. That's the one single desire that must be honored with everything you do, and you will continuously move forward. You will hesitate less and less. Okay. All right. Let's talk about the desires with each one so you can understand what we're talking about. So if you've got 3 or more of the relationship building strengths in your top 10, then one of the desires or the main desire that must be focused on and honored with everything you do is to connect with the right people. Okay, so I want you to write that down. If you've got 3 or more of the relationship building strengths in your top 10, the desire that must be honored is to connect with the right people. And what that means is the connection is kind of being present. I want you to understand what this means. So if you got 3 or more relationship building strengths to kind of understand you on a general level. Now remember, if you've got other ones, this is not completely you, but you're going to see a lot of similarities here. A relationship builder has a desire to connect, to be present, to feel people's feelings or energy, and to be present with them and not expect them to be something more. It's not to demand anything. It's about acceptance and love and support and honoring and hearing people out. Or if you've got relator very high, which we'll talk about what that is in a minute, it's to make sure that the only people that come into your circle are people who you genuinely connect with. And so connection is about truth and honesty. All right. That means that if I ask a relationship builder to do something that they feel will be inauthentic or, let's say, manipulative or pushy, right? They won't do it, or they'll hesitate at the very best. Now, the right people is up to you. You decide who the right people are. But to give you some examples, I'm going to show you one end of the spectrum and the other end of the spectrum. Okay. And then we're going to talk about how relationship builders struggle and how they can shift in their business to help you see what a magic this is. Okay. So, first off, if you've got relator somewhere in your top 10 or 12 or 13, something like that, and you've got includer in your bottom like 7 or 8 strengths, then you're at one end of the spectrum. High relators, low includers are the people that require depth in relationships. That means it has to be honest and real and even many times vulnerable, because high relators, low includers cannot stand superficial or small talk. They don't like it. They're awkward and weird around it. So if you're a high relator and low includer, this is pretty much you. The high relators, low includers have such a high demand for relationships that they connect very deeply with the very select few that they choose to let in. Those people they let in have earned their trust. And that means that they're willing to kind of allow those people into their heart. Because if somebody inside that circle betrays their trust, like by saying they're going to do something and not, right? We see that a lot in network marketing, or promising that they care and then it turns out they don't, and they betray your trust, or they don't follow through on the things that you connected with, then it becomes excruciatingly painful. The high relator, low includer cares so much that they only allow a select few. And if those select few come in, they wish they didn't care so much. It gets that intense. All right. High relators, low includers are probably the most loyal people on the planet. These are the kind of people that if you've made it into their little circle and then you're in their little circle, and that means you can call them at 3 a.m. and say, hey, I don't have time to explain, but I need your help. Please come to my house now. That high relator, low includer, if they've let you into that circle, will get in a plane or get in a car instantly. They will just do it because that loyalty is powerful, right? So you got to love the high relator, low includer. But where they struggle, right, is like, for example, if a high relator, low includer somehow magically gets invited to a party, right? And they go to a party and their first thought is, oh Lord, I have to talk to people. This is going to be awful, right? So they kind of show up as introverted. And then they go into that party and their first thought is, okay, well, please tell me there's someone here I know. Please tell me there's someone I know at this party. And if they're like, oh my gosh, there's no one I know at this party, that means I have to have small talk with people. I don't want to do that. This is awful. This is a nightmare. And so the first thing is, okay, well, if there's no one here I know, is there like a baby I can hold or a dog I can play with, right? Or some animal or a guitar I can sit with in the corner, whatever. And if there's none of those things, then their only option is, okay, is there a trap door or a window I can crawl out of, right? And then they go hide in the car. And then my wife, who's a high relator, low includer, will text me as I'm having a good time in the party and say, hey, I'm in the car. When are we leaving? She ghosts me at parties. So that's one end of the spectrum, okay? So the right people for the high relators, low includers is very select few who are honest and deep and vulnerable and interesting, right? On the other end of the spectrum, you've got the high includer, low relator. So top 10 includer, bottom 7 or 8 relator, okay? These are the opposite, right? They're cool with everyone. Everyone gets a second chance. Everyone gets an opportunity. Everyone must be invited, even if they don't want to be invited. We invite them all. And high includers and low relators want everybody to be heard. They want everybody to be honored and encouraged and supported. And even if they make mistakes or act like jerks, let's give them a chance. Let's give them 2 or 3 or 4 chances, because sometimes people find religion and they suddenly want to get better. Who knows? Maybe this person will be that. Let's be there for them. You know what I mean? So high includers, low relators have very little to no filter whatsoever with people. And so they bring everybody in and give everybody a shot. For them, the right people, just about anyone. Okay. Just about. Okay. So now that we've kind of got an idea of what energizes a high relationship builder, Let me tell you about what gets in their way. If you ask them to do the one thing that we all do in network marketing, which is make our list, right? So we want to make a list of names. Everyone, like Eric Worre, for example, in GoPro talks about making your 100 names list, right? If you ask a relationship builder to make that list, if they see that list as a place where relationships go to be risked or be put in jeopardy, right? Because you're going to tell them, we're going to make a list of all your friends, everybody you know, and we're going to share samples or invitations to your products, right? Whatever that is, however you share it, they'll look at that list and they'll think, well, I don't want to put anyone I really care about on that list because the last thing I want to do is risk relationships. So they hesitate, right? And then they struggle to try to find people that they know who they feel comfortable to reach out to, but they also feel comfortable to slightly risk the relationship. And this can take a very long time. Now, not all relationship builders are like this, but the majority of them are. The majority of relationship builders also struggle to set goals or give intentions to what they want because they don't want to risk relationships by promising because they think they think goal setting is promise making. So they don't want to set goals because it sounds like a promise. And the last thing they want to do is put relationships with you, especially if you're their upline, at risk. And so they don't want to set goals. They don't want to make promises that they don't believe in their heart and mind that they can do it. So ultimately, this is causing a shift in hesitation. It's holding them back. It's keeping them from being consistent to allow them to get from where they are to where they want to be. Okay. And that's the concept that I'm trying to teach here is understand how these domains shut us down and also shift us. And so how do we shift a relationship builder? For example, when it comes to making your list of 100 names, is we help a relationship builder to understand that that's not a place where relationships go to be risked. That's where relationships go to be enhanced. So how can you enhance relationships by adding names to a list? Well, I would always tell a relationship builder, I want you to make a list of 100 people that you would love to say hello to over the next couple of months. That's it. All I want you to do is reach out to them and say hello, have no agenda whatsoever. Well, one little caveat to that is if anybody you talk to does mention to you that they have painful issues or things that you can solve with your products and services, if they have painful problems that you can solve, then it is your duty as a relationship builder to build a relationship by inviting them to help you help them. And so what you're going to do is invite them to take value or get value in what you have to offer, whether it's an event or a class or a training or watch a video, or maybe even sample some of the products that you have. Bottom line is that if you look at everything you do as a relationship builder as a way to build relationships, then you will stay consistent and you will move towards your goals. Okay. So if you've got 3 or more relationship building strengths, you must do everything in a way that honors your desire to connect with the right people. All right, let's move on to the influencing. If you've got 3 or more influencing strengths in your top 10, then everything you do must be done in a way that honors your desire to move people forward. That means simply getting people from where they are to where they want to be, right? Making that transition. And so everything you do must honor that desire. And if you feel, even for a moment, right, that anything you would do in your business would get in people's way of moving forward and be empowered, right, then you won't do it. For example, if I ask you to do something that would come off as cheesy or inauthentic, or dare I say, uninspiring. And so ultimately, what influencers want is to move people forward. Now, here's what they're really good at. An influencer has a major desire to, when they meet people, it's amazing. They want to move people forward, right? But when they meet people, it's amazing. And when they meet people at like events or whatever, or parties or something like that, they're so good at seeing where they are, right? Like, oh my gosh, I just met you, but you're amazing at this, that, and the other. And then they can see where people can go. You could do this and you can do that. And then they can see how people can get there. And you can do this, and this is how. You could do it this way, you could do it this way, you can do it this way. But then the most important is the influencer wants to get involved in that process. And so they'll say, and this is how I can help, right? I see you here, I can see you here, and I can see you doing it this way. And here's how I'm going to help you. And influencers get all excited because they see all these things and they think in their mind that it's real, And so they put it on people without their permission. They never asked if that person even wanted all that information. And so what'll end up happening is the person's like, oh, like the deer in headlights, like, oh, well, I didn't really come here for that. I was just, we're here for the cookies or whatever. So I'm going to go now. And then, I'm going to just leave now. And then just start to like slowly creep away. Right. Or influencers tend to lead to people feeling like you're inadequate, like they're not good enough, because you as an influencer, your visions for where people could be is always going to be beyond what they see for themselves. I'm going to help you with this big frustration you've got going on in your life right now. You will always see people beyond what they see for themselves, because even if a person saw themselves where you saw them, you're just going to move your vision a little further beyond, right? Because that's how you operate. Everything must allow room for forward movement. So no matter where a person sees themselves, you're always going to figure out a way to see them beyond that, which means that if you keep sharing these visions on people, right, then people have no choice but to feel like they're not good enough when they're around you. So where influencers shift, okay, this is how you shift, because if you are worried that sharing all this amazing excitement with people is going to be too much, you don't give yourself the opportunity to really move everyone forward, massive amounts of people, like I'm trying to do right now. And it's this, I want you to know I have 5 influencing strengths in my top 10. I know, I understand the pain, okay? This is how you are better at moving forward. Instead of like knowing or having this vision of where they are, ask them. Instead of having this vision of where they could go, ask them. Instead of having this plan on how they can do it, ask them. And instead of telling them how you can help them, ask them and say, hey, where are you? Where do you want to be? How do you want to get there? And I'm going to be me. How can I be me in a way that will help you get what you want? Right? What we're trying to do here is help the world tell us, the influencers, how we can be as big as possible in a way that'll help them get what they uniquely want. Because if it's their idea, they'll do it. If it's your idea, good luck. Okay? Nobody wants to work hard to achieve your vision for them. They want to work hard to achieve their vision for them, and they want you to help them. And as an influencer, you're great at inspiring and holding them accountable. That's your job. And I want you to imagine this, influencers, before we move on, because this is a big deal when it comes to not just mentoring, but also selling, right? Is spending more time asking questions about where they are, where they want to go, and why it matters to them, and so on, is going to be far more influential than you tell them about how great your products and services are. No one cares. What they care about is, can you help them alleviate pain, right? Instead of going online, or this is the other place influencers struggle. They go online and they go, hey, let me tell you all about how amazing my product is. It's wonderful. It's great. It's powerful. It's made a difference in my life. And here's how you get it. That's not inspiring at all. Focusing on the needs and pains of people to get their attention, and then share with them how you've been through something similar and invite them to go on a journey, is far more inspiring. So as an influencer, stop telling and start asking, and you will get far more engagement in your business, as well as with the people in your business, your downline, and all that other stuff, as well as your prospects and your customers. Okay, influencers, you get it? So we've got to honor our desire to move people forward, and telling people what to do isn't making it happen. It's asking them what they want and holding their foot to the fire because they said they wanted it. All right, that's the whole plan. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, let's talk about executing. Now, these are the people that are watching this that are being super patient right now, because they're thinking, oh my gosh, this guy's been going on for 30 or 40 minutes now, and he hasn't told us one thing to do yet. He hasn't given us any step-by-steps. Oh my gosh, this is the most unproductive thing I've ever watched. And I totally get it, because executors are energized by doing everything in a way that honors their desire to make sure things are done the right way, right? And so executors, you're all about the productivity, because executors, in their minds and in their hearts, they believe truly that every second that ticks off the clock is life leaving their body. And if they're going to be involved in anything, it had better be productive. It had better be practical. Stop all this nonsense about emotions and mindset, blah, blah, blah. Just tell me what to do and I will do it. Let me give you a little bit of insight into the executor mind, okay? Executors believe that productivity is king. We're either doing or we're not doing. That's it. That's all. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And the reason why they're like this is because they have this belief that everything must have some sort of a tangible outcome, right? Like especially if you're an achiever, if you're going to start something, you had better finish it, right? And so high executors, in order to guarantee that before they go to bed at night, that things were done, right? And they don't have to think about it, they have to have some sort of external measurement of that productivity. This is why they make lists. So they write things down that they're going to do, or they make lists in their heads, right? And they don't use papers. Sometimes they just do it in their head, or sometimes they don't do any of that stuff. They just stack things, like files or whatever. And they're just like, and they put the most important file on top, the least important on the bottom, and they just knock them all out. And at the end of the day, they want to see that pile gone, right? Or they want to see all those things checked off. And the reason is because, see, what happens is executors have this invisible scoreboard that floats above their head. Okay, it just hovers above their head and they're constantly seeing it. And the scoreboard every morning when they wake up, it has a big fat 0 on it. And so when they wake up, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm already behind. I just woke up and I'm already a 0. I got to go get things checked off my list. So they got their list. Sometimes they made it before. Sometimes they made the list 2 days ago or whatever, but they wake up and they've got to have their list. And then their goal is to do things, to check things off that list, either on paper or in their mind or in piles. And because every time they check something off the list, they get points on the board every time, right? And so they become obsessed with how can I get things checked off this list so I can get points on that board. And so then they're like, okay, I got my list. And by the way, some people will go as far as to write everything down, like brushed hair, brushed teeth, washed face, right? Wiped down counters, drank water, and they have a list of how many gallons of water they drink or whatever, right? Everything is list because they want to see at the end of the day their productivity. And so what I love about the executors too is that this is how much they care about this, my friends. And this is what really gets in network marketing, their way with network marketing, is this desire to be productive and forget about thinking or emotions. And so they'll do things on their list. So they'll got, okay, I got my list. I'm going to go to work now. And on their way to go knock things off their list, they'll go, well, while I'm on the way, I'll do this and I'll do this. And then they get mad at no one else in their houses cares about productivity. No one seems to care that things are done. I'm the only one. Everyone relies on me. And then while when they're done with all that work, they come back to their list and they start checking things off their list. Check, check, points, bing, bing, bing. But then they're like, wait a minute. I did this and I did this and I did this. That's not on the list. I'm going to add it to the list so that I can immediately check it off and get points on that board, because achievers especially hate it when anything they do doesn't get measured, as if their whole day was nothing was done and they weren't productive, and they can't stand that. It's an internal drive. So executors need to do things in a way that honors their desire to make sure things are done and they're done the right way. Now, for those of you that have belief high, okay, for you, the right way is really subjective. It is up to you. It's not always your way. It's not always, sometimes it's other people's way, and sometimes it's God's way. But ultimately, you're the one to stand up for things done the right way. You know you are, because you're the kind of person that would often correct people. Now, not all executors are like this, but most of them are. Okay, especially if you have restorative. You're the corrector of people, okay? And it's okay. I actually love that about you because I've seen its value and I understand it. I just want you to understand that that's your desire. So how does this hold us back with network marketing? Well, network marketing is a relationship building business, right? So if I ask an executor to make a list of 100 people to contact and sample and invite and whatever, they're like, great, I can make that list. But do I have to talk to them? Can I just text them, right? An executor doesn't want to waste time with people when it's not productive. One of the biggest fears an executor has is when they're going to call people, that they're going to get sucked into 20 or 30-minute conversations that go nowhere, right? And so if an executor is hesitant about that, then they're hesitant to build relationships, which means they're going to slow their progress in their business. And also with contacting or connecting with the leaders in your business, you'll hesitate training them and supporting them, because the last thing you want to do is hear people talk about their fears or their emotions or the things that are holding them back or their blocks. To be a therapist is the most unproductive thing for an executor, right? And the last thing they want to do is have to be that for their people. So they hesitate, right? These are just a couple of examples. Now, I'm not saying you're right or wrong to worry about people's emotions. That's got nothing to do with this. It's got to do with what causes you to hesitate to grow your business. So, what you can do instead is when you're doing mentoring or when you're doing inviting or presenting and even closing, right? You do it in a way that honors your desire to be productive. And so you say to people, I am here to make sure things are done the right way for you. And that means either your way, my way, or God's way. But ultimately, it's you getting what you want. And I'm here to make sure it gets done, right? And so what I would have you do is say, okay, you got 100 names, let's say in inviting. Okay, you're going to reach out to these people and you're going to invite them to come to an event or a training or watch a video or something. And what you're going to do is right out the gate when you contact them is you're going to say, hey, I want to talk to you, but I've only got 5 minutes. Bang, right out the gate, you're letting them know you've only got 5 minutes. I'm just here to share something to help you with something, right? You can say, I made a list of all the people I know and some of the problems I know they have, and I'm here to bring a solution. And I've only got 5 minutes. And if you want to extend it to 10, that's okay. It's up to you. You decide how much time do you want people to spend with you. And you tell them that right out the gate. I care about this, all right? But I've only got so much time. Let's get this done. We can all hang out, eat s'mores, and sing Kumbaya later, okay? All right, because we got to make sure things are done the right way. I got to check things off my list for me and you, right? I want you to imagine that too. It's the greatest thing ever to have someone call you and say, hey, I'm here to make sure things are done right for you. Come on, that's awesome. So be that person, okay? And so executors, when you're embracing the fact that you are productive and efficient, then you can show up in that value and people can go, oh, I like this, okay? Don't try to be something you're not by saying, hey, how are you? I'm saying that because people who care say that, and I want you to feel comfortable when I tell you what to do. It's going to be awful. It sounds like a nightmare, right? So executors own and love your desire to make sure things are done the right way. And I want you to say that. I love to do everything in a way that honors my desire to make sure things are done the right way. Okay? Okay, let's get on to the next one. All right, this is the last one, which is the strategic thinkers. All right, what's so great about the strategic thinkers is they're having a good time. By the way, I always save them for last because they are loving this. They are enjoying this. They're smiling. They're laughing. They're just loving every second of this because they love to do things in a way that honors their desire to think or create or learn, or a combination of 2 or 3 of these, right? And so what they love to do is ultimately use their mind. They love to gather information to analyze or theorize or visualize or strategize. They like to take complex information, understand it, process it, and then teach it to other people to make it simple for them to follow. They're energized by knowledge. So ultimately, a strategic thinker, and by the way, I've got 3 of them in my top 10. So I know how you feel. A strategic thinker is energized by using this. The way that you could shut down a strategic thinker is to tell them to stop thinking and just do. Executors, I'm looking at you, you know that you like to do that. And so, especially because I find it interesting that a lot of executors tend to attract a lot of strategic thinkers and relationship builders. And it makes them crazy that these people don't just get things done. They care about knowledge and feelings. But anyway, what we're talking about here on this situation here is that strategic thinker is energized by knowledge. And when it comes to, for example, if you got, if you've got input very high, then you're like a human Google. You just gather information constantly to save in case somebody needs it someday, right? Or a learner, you love to improve knowledge. Like you love to add knowledge to who you are and insert it into your DNA and not really be energized by applying it. You just love the knowledge journey and the process of improving who you are. And so ultimately, you've got all this knowledge and information, and what you want, it energizes you, is when people are thrilled by your information and they like to use your information to improve themselves, right? To learn something about themselves and help them be empowered to go apply your amazing knowledge that you've spent your whole life gathering. This is why when people ask you simple questions like, hey, what time is it, right? That you want to go into a 3-hour dissertation of how the watch was made. Or even worse, in your network marketing business, when someone says, hey, I don't know, like, what's keto? Here comes your 3-hour dissertation on how energy and how exercise and all these other things and the history of healthcare in this world starts to come into play, and you overwhelm people with your information. Because strategic thinkers honestly believe in their heart that the more information they dump on people, the more they will be empowered to make a decision. And you have found that it is just not true. And the reason is this. So strategic thinkers, okay, when you think about someone you're trying to invite to sell or to buy your products, or you're trying to help someone learn how to build the business, it is far more, it's very deflating if we're constantly feeding people information and overwhelming them. How you'll know is because you'll get blank stares from people and smoke is coming out of their ears, right? You and I both know that if you got 4 or 5 strategic thinking strengths or more, you are overwhelming people with information often. And if you are worried that you are going to overwhelm people with your information, you just hold it back and you hesitate. Get it? So what we want to do is help you embrace your ability to have knowledge to share, but share it at the right time. So the important thing to understand here is that the most important thing you should be learning about is what people are struggling with and how they are not getting what they really want. And ultimately what solutions that they've come up with that aren't working so that you can learn about them. And when you learn about them, right, when you really learn about them, then they're teaching you about who they are, which means that they're learning about themselves and they're building up a focus and a desire to change and do something different, right? And start using the products that you have to offer. And then all you got to do is say, here's the products. And now when you get these products, I will then give you all my information, because all of your amazing information without some sort of a tool to apply it will always be overwhelming. Now look at this. I'm a strategic thinker and I am fire hosing you with information, but you're not feeling too overwhelmed because you've got a tool in front of you, which is your strengths report, and you're going through it with me. And I want you to imagine the people that you're trying to help, whether it's people trying to use your products or do the business. What you're trying to do is make sure they have a tool in front of them so that while you're fire hosing them, which you always do, they'll have a tool to apply it and they won't feel overwhelmed. You understand what I'm saying? So strategic thinkers, how they shift is they hold back their information and spend more time learning about people's problems, what's keeping them from get what they want, and asking them to share their issues with you so that they build up a desire to buy, right? I'll give you an example. This is a real quick one. Everyone's always heard of, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? This is the worst saying ever, but we all say it when we just throw our hands up in the air and say, look, there's nothing I can do for this person. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But you can feed the horse crackers. And when you feed the horse crackers and the horse is at the water source, they have no choice but to drink. And so how do we feed the horse crackers? Is we eat the crackers in front of them and go, yum, 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 yum. And the horse is like, I want some of those crackers. And then the horse is like, you sure? Yeah, I want some right now. You give the horse crackers and they're like, oh man, I need some water. So how you help a person, right, develop a desire, an absolute desire to try your products or even do the business with you, is you ask them questions about what's going on in their lives and you learn about their pain issues. And then they are teaching you about their problems, which is making them thirsty. Hello, right? And as a strategic thinker, you are inspired by this because people are far more interesting than any training or book you could ever read. Just ask them questions about where they're at and what they want and why they can't get it and why the solutions they have already come up with aren't working. And then they'll be like thirsty and they'll say, hey, you know what? I really would like a suggestion. Do you have an option that can help me with this? Well, in fact, I do. Pick a product, pick any one of these products. I'll share a little bit with you, but pick any one of these products, get started, and I'll give you my knowledge, right? As a bonus. And by the way, one last thing on the strategic thinkers. If you've got 4, for example, 4 or more strategic thinking strengths, now I've got 3, but if you've got 4, holy cow. Like, it's important that you have a blog or you write some books or you do a podcast or a video series or something, because no one will ever ask you enough questions for you to feel like you're giving all your information. Okay. So write a book, a couple of books, right? Get some blogs going, attract people to your business, do a video series, a podcast. Podcast is great. It's easy, right? Obviously, I can handle that. I'm a talker. Have you figured it out, right? Okay. So now you understand the strategic thinker desire. All right. And now we're going to put all 4 of these together. We're going to put these all together in what I call, now I created this. This is my own process. It's called the Strengths Proclamation. Okay. You're going to proclaim who you are to the world, and you're going to proactively claim it for you. That means you're going to start telling the world and you, this is who you are. This is how you do things. And this is how I bring value to you. And it works like this. You write this sentence down. Okay. I want you to write this down. That's on the screen. I love to do everything in a way that honors my desire to. You're in a way that honors your desire to what? Right? We'll talk about that. I want you to write this down though. I love to do everything in a way that honors my desire to. And then you take the desires or the domains you have 3 or more of in your top 10, and you put in the individual desires. Okay. So for example, if you've got 3 relationship building, 3 influencing, and 3 executing strengths, then your strengths proclamation is, I love to do everything in a way that honors my desire to connect with the right people, move people forward, and make sure things are done the right way. Or maybe you've got influencing and strategic thinking, like myself. So my strengths proclamation is, I love to do everything in a way that honors my desire to 5 influencing and 3 strategic thinking. So it goes in that order for me, right? I love to do everything in a way that honors my desire to move people forward, think, create, and or learn. And as long as I do everything that way, then I never hesitate. And this is what's allowed me to go from not just growing my network marketing business and my coaching business, but also how I improve my health, how I improve my marriage to another level, how I improve my ability to parent my kids, everything. Look, it's written on there. I love to do everything in a way that honors my desire too. So write it down right now. Okay. I'm just going to keep talking to give you some examples to how you see this process. I love to build my network marketing business in a way that honors my desire too. I love to mentor and coach people in a way that honors my desire too. I love to hold people accountable in a way that honors my desire too. I love to rank advance. I love to do this. I love to do that. Anything. You can even put in each of these domains that are in here. Let's say, for example, you've got 6 relationship building, right? And no influencing, and just a couple of influencing or executing and strategic thinking. And you've got 6 relationship building, but nothing else of 3 or more. So if you're a relationship builder who honors their desire to connect with the right people, you can say, I love to move people forward in a way that honors my desire to connect with the right people. Or I love to make sure things are done the right way, but in a way that honors my desire to connect with the right people. Or I love to think, create, and or learn in a way that honors my desire to connect with the right people. What I'm telling you here, my friends, is that, like I said before, and you're probably already forgetting it, the golden rule. It's how you do everything your way. All of these domains, they are all you. You can do them all, but you just do them your way with a focus on those desires first. And then you can ultimately get towards the things that you want. Okay, so we're going to take a small break of about 30 seconds or a minute, okay? And I'm going to give you 30 seconds to a minute of time, and I want you to make sure you've got your strengths proclamation written down. I love to do everything in a way that honors my desire to what? So write them down now before we move on to the next section. All right. Are you owning it? Are you just committing to that? This is how you do everything. Are you saying to yourself now that this is how I want to build my business? I love to build my new you life business in a way that honors my desire to, right? And you put those in there, my friends, and start saying it. I want you to make sure you stay remembering the golden rule that this is how you do everything your way, and it will work, but only about 100% of the time, okay? I've worked with thousands of people, and I could see many different examples of how that works. So let me just give you some examples of how it could work for you, okay? Now, before we go into the next section, I'm going to help you understand the concept of principles. Okay, what are principles? Principles are the things that you must honor in order to be successful in anything. for example, one of my favorite, my favorite people is a friend named Laura. She's just an incredible network marketer and very wealthy and just very successful. And just, I adore her to death. And one of the things she taught me was the principles is what we want to teach instead of spending time telling people how to do things step by step or giving scripts and things like that. What you do is you teach people the success principles, and that gives them the free agency to apply their strengths and be who they are authentically through that journey. The best example she gives is I want you to think about cake. All right. In order to bake a cake, there's a lot of different ways to bake a cake, but you cannot bake a cake successfully without flour. If you use something other than flour, then you're not baking a cake. You're doing something else. So, in order to successfully bake a cake, you must use flour. But there are millions of different types of flours, right? Well, maybe not millions, but there's a lot of different types of flours, right? And that's what I want you to think about is you've got many different strengths and talents and abilities. All you got to do is understand what is the flower of network marketing, right? And I'm going to teach you 4 very powerful principles that will help you build a successful network marketing business while giving you the free agency to be who you are through this journey. Okay. And we're going to talk about prospecting, inviting, selling, and mentoring. Okay. Let's get into it. And by the way, as I teach these principles, I want you to understand, see how these principles, honoring these principles, gives you the freedom to honor your desire to be connected or be productive or inspiring or knowledge based. Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. The principles. What is a successful way? Let's talk about prospecting. Okay. Prospecting is attracting the right people. That's all we're trying to do. Trying to figure out how to attract the right people. And first thing you got to do is that you've got to know the value of what you have to offer. Okay, so if you're going to prospect people for your business or your products, it's important for you to get clear. What is the value, right? So if you're prospecting, if you want to prospect, right? If you're going to go out and prospect, you got to know how incredible your products are. What do they do? What are the things that they offer, right? And how like how many problems do they solve, and how great has it been for you and your story? You also have access to a network of other people who are just like you, as well as trainings and programs, and there's your own unique strengths and so on. All the things that you're able to do, you offer those things. So I encourage you to make a list of all the amazing things that you have to offer someone. Okay. Then the next thing is that who you want to attract. Who are these people? And what I notice a lot is that we don't really get clear and spend time thinking about who it is that we're trying to bring into our world. Most of us are just happy to talk to anybody with a heartbeat. But what I think is more important is that we get clear about who we're looking for. So you're going to do a little exercise right now, okay? And we're going to have to go through this quick. So just trust your gut and write down some things. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to write down 2 qualities of someone you enjoy being with, okay? Think of a friend. What do you like about them? Are they fun? Are they interesting? Do they like to talk? Do they like to shut up? What do they like to do? All right, write down 2 qualities, right? Maybe they're caring. Maybe they're energetic. Maybe they're loud. Maybe they're quiet. What do you love? What are 2 qualities that you love about someone you enjoy being with? Okay, just 2 quick qualities. Just trust your gut. This is not being carved in stone, and I want you to make sure you're getting this out based on how you feel. The next thing I want you to do is write down 2 qualities of a great business partner, right? Who would be a really good business partner, someone to partner with to grow a business and to grow a residual income and so on, right? Maybe someone who's focused, maybe someone who has a lot of integrity. Maybe he's somebody who's a good speaker. Maybe he was somebody who's a very good listener, right? What is it? I don't want to give you too many ideas. I really want you to trust your gut, okay? What do you in your gut feel is important to have in a new business partner? All right? 2 qualities, just put them down quickly. The last one is just add a bonus quality. What is an extra quality that you can throw in? Look at the 4 you've already written down, right? Maybe they're fun and entertaining, and they're also committed and mission driven. What's a bonus quality? Trustworthy. Boom, put that in there. What are the qualities that you want to see in a person? And now that you've got these 5 qualities, take a look at those qualities. And I want to ask you right now, are the qualities that you wrote down, are those people hanging out at home, eating a lot of food, watching Netflix, and blaming the world or the country for their problems? No, they're not. And you and I both know they're not. And so maybe we need to start looking in places where people like this are. They're probably already leading organizations. They might have started nonprofit organizations and they're looking to create something for themselves, right? They're probably out there already doing amazing things. And because you have been thinking that you're only looking for people who aren't already in some sort of a quote unquote successful position, maybe you've been holding off talking to them. So, what I want you to do, start getting conscious about where these people are probably hanging out and start looking for them in these places and talking to them. And then the last part is, of course, to be those 5 qualities and be able to speak their language your way. Okay. They'll be in front of you. And then the next thing becomes, all right, how do we invite? Okay. So, what is inviting? Inviting is bringing value. Now, I want you, by the way, let me go back to this real quick. As we're going through these qualities, I want you to think about how these honoring these qualities allows you to honor your desire to connect or be productive or be inspirational or to be able to share knowledge. Okay. So let's go into inviting. With inviting, it's about bringing value. But the first thing you got to know is what are the problems that you solve and the pains that are associated with those problems. For example, if a person struggles with certain things like maybe low energy, right? If they struggle with low energy, what kind of pains come as a result of low energy? What kind of ways does low energy affect people's health or their relationships or their business, right? Or their bank accounts, right? Or just their belief in themselves. And so it's important that you get clear about what these pains are, because when somebody comes in front of you who has those pains or problems, then you can know how your products and business solves those problems, right? So if they say, hey, you hear them mention in your conversation that they have certain issues or problems, then you're like, oh my gosh, I know how I can help this person. So it's important to know what painful issues you can solve, so that if you hear someone you know having those problems, and you can just come out and invite them to experience the value. And that's the next part. The goal of inviting is not to put somebody in a place to be pitched something. It is that process of inviting is bringing value to that prospect's world. Just by inviting them, the invitation itself is an invitation to experience value, whether it's a video, right? That's value. You can learn something really great that maybe you didn't know before, and that really helps you solve some problems in your life. Or maybe you can invite them to an event where a bunch of people are hanging out who are like minded and fun to be around. That can be a valuable experience, right? Ultimately, what I want you to think about is, if you're a relationship builder, how can you invite in a way that brings value into people's lives and builds the relationships even better by saying things like, look, I just want to bring value to you and invite you to this thing. Would you love to come here? Because it'll help you to start see your problems in a different way, and so on. Or as a strategic thinker, right? Hey, I've got some information that'll really help you, and I'd love to invite you to experience the amazing value of the knowledge that I have access to, right? Or maybe as an influencer, hey, we put on a great show and I want you to invite you to come hang out with us and party, right? Whatever. Or as an executor, I want to give you some step-by-steps. Let me invite you. And we'll talk about those in a minute. Again, remember, your inviting process is a way to bring value to people's lives. Okay, so when you're inviting them to something, you're not trying to sell them something, you're trying to help them experience what it is you have to offer. That is inviting authentically. Let's move on to the next one. How about selling, right? Because once we've invited them, now we got to help them to make the decision to move towards the solutions to the problems they have. And how we do that, the basic principle of selling is to connect their pain to your solutions. It's not effective selling to go on and on about the greatness of what you have to offer if you haven't connected or created a bridge between their problems and your solutions. So, for example, right, you ask questions, and the best way to ask questions is to say things like, find out what is their problem, or what is the thing that they want to improve. And when they say, well, the thing that I want to improve is I want to improve my strength. I want to get stronger, but I'm worried about something, and I'm worried that I'm too old to get stronger or exercise or something like that. Well, how is this problem affecting you? So you ask that question, right? How is it affecting your health? How is it affecting your finances? How is it affecting your relationships with the people you care about? How is it affecting your belief in you? And then ask them, what solutions have they already tried? And you can give people credit. Okay. People are not stupid. People have already tried ways to solve this, and many of them have given up. But I want you to think about this. Like, what are the solutions that they've already tried that aren't working, that aren't just really giving them what they really, really want, right? So say, hey, look, I'm going to assume you're a genius and you've probably come up with some solutions. What are they? And are they really giving you everything you want? And if the answer is no, the next question is, are you ready to try something different? Right? And then you give them two options, right? You can say, well, here's an option and here's an option. And these two options, either one of them are going to be able to help you. But then you do this and you close this invitation with an authentic spin using your strengths. So you invite authentically with phrases like this. For example, if you are a relationship builder, meaning you have at least 3 or more relationship building strengths, then you say something like, we can do this together, right? Like as a relationship builder, I feel you, I hear you, I know where you're at, and I can tell you got some issues here. I've got a couple of options. Pick one and we can do this together. What about if you are an influencer? Well, I'm aware of where you're at. I can see where you want to be. Here's a couple of options, and you will move from where you are to where you want to be. That's going to happen. And as an influencer, if you've got 3 or more, I want you to stand tall, knowing that you've got value to offer to get a person moving forward. What if you're an executor, right? Well, if you're an executor, you love lists. We talked about that. So use your lists and tell them, hey, I made a list of all your problems, and I've got a couple of options here for you. Pick one, and I will give you the step-by-steps, right? And then what if you're a strategic thinker? Well, if you're a strategic thinker, my friends, it's all about sharing knowledge. And you've got this like massive desire to share all the information in your head. But you know that if you dump it all on them without them having a tool, it's not going to work. So as a strategic thinker, you can come in and say, hey, you will get all my like all my information, all my studies, all my knowledge, all my whatever. You will get all the stuff that's in my head, essentially, right? And then, but once you buy it or once you pick one of these options, and I also encourage strategic thinkers to let people know that these people are teaching you. And you can say, look, I'm so grateful for you to answer those questions about your problems. I learned so much listening to you. I've got a couple of options. And if you pick one or two of them, I will share all my knowledge on how to help you in return. Right. And that's a high energy process for a strategic thinker. You all get it? Now, here's one more interesting thing I'm going to throw in as I've got this slide up. If you've got let's say two different domains here of 3 or more, like if you've got 4 relationship building and 4 influencing strengths, well, you can combine these 2 messages together. For example, if you're a relationship builder influencer, you can say, I feel you, I can see where you're at. Here's a couple of options based on where you want to go. Pick any one of these options and we will do this together and you will get from where you are to where you want to be, right? Or you can say you'll get from where you are to where you want to be and we'll do it together. You can say that. Or if you're an executor strategic thinker, you can say, hey, I made a list of all your issues and you taught me so much. And what I've got here is a couple of options. Pick one, right? And I will share all my knowledge with you and help you create your own step-by-steps. How cool is that, right? Or what if you're a relationship builder, influencer, strategic thinker? All right, I feel you. I see where you're at and I can see where you want to go and you've taught me so much, right? Here's a couple of options. Pick one and I will make sure you get from where you are to where you want to be. We'll do this together and you will get all of my knowledge along the way. You understand what I'm saying? You will get all I have to offer in my mind and heart. And you can say that during your your process of closing out this conversation of moving a person from having problems to start experiencing some solutions and bringing joy to their life. My friends, are you starting to see this? Being authentic is about doing things in your energy, and you don't have to worry about whether or not they are influencers, strategic thinkers, or any of that, because it's not about trying to manipulate or read them or read their body language. It's about showing up in your unique value so that they can see clearly what you have to offer them. And no matter what, if you're being authentic, they will get it and they will trust you and they will feel comfortable, especially when you're asking about money. The worst thing you can do when you're asking for a person to buy what you have to sell is to suddenly get awkward and inauthentic. They will smell it on you and they will always say things like, let me think about it. Let me do some research. Let me see when I get paid again, or whatever weird response people want to give you. All right, to close this out, let's talk about mentoring briefly, because mentoring is a big key. And again, we're trying to help other people move authentically. I don't want you to think that you're supposed to have all the answers when you're mentoring people. You can simply mentor by honoring these principles. Ask people what they want. Ask them how they want to get there. Ask them how they want you to help, right? You're only giving them questions so they can solve problems for themselves. When I mentor people, I bring very few ideas, but I ask a lot of great questions and I share observations. So here's where I see you. Here's where I see you going based on what you said. And here's what you told me you want. And then I move with those who move first. I do not hear what people say. I watch what they do. And here's the most important thing is that if you can help a person tell you who they are, what they want, and how they want to do things, then you as the mentor can support them or push them or challenge them to just be who they are on a more consistent level. And thus you get to like worry less about the heartache of people saying they're going to do things and then stop, because all you want to do is help them be them. All right, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got amazing value from this. I just want you to know there is so much to unpack with strengths, and I synthesized so much amazing content in just a short little presentation for you here. What I'm hoping is that this gets you started to want to know more. Okay, I want to help you to know more. So, my friends, at this point now, all I want you to do is take your strengths report, share it with the people you work with, share it with others. Take a look at how your individual strengths work with some of these more general concepts like relationship building and influencing and all those things. And I want you to know how grateful I am for this opportunity to be able to bring value into your lives, and know that I am always available for more, so to help you all create a strengths-based culture in your business and in your life. Have a wonderful day. Thank you all again.
Guys, first and foremost, thank you for being with us. It's awesome to have you on this particular Zoom. This Zoom kind of comes on the heels of the training we just did with Clifton Strengths, where Eddie talked to us about your strengths, how you can leverage those strengths, how you can understand what those strengths are and how they're so important. We've been so excited about this particular piece and so excited about really talking about how you can leverage it in your business and really create what you want to create by virtue of understanding that. And I have 3 people with me that I think are prime examples of incredible strength, but also how you can leverage that and really talk about it and make it work with anything that you do. And so thank you guys for being here. I've got Maggie Rexford. Maggie, thanks for being here. I appreciate that. Paul Capozio is with us, and also Judy Mark. I've had a chance to kind of do Zooms with these guys back and forth. They're just incredible in terms of leadership, and so I'm grateful that you guys are here. It's always awesome to have you on. I really have just been dying, I'm going to be honest about this, to ask like 3 questions, kind of just 3 ideas of each of you based upon your experience with this training, just so you can give us your take and your feel on it. And Maggie, if it's okay, I think I'll kind of start with you. I mean, it wouldn't be a proper, we didn't start with Maggie. It made sense, right? Maggie, just if you can, just tell us a little bit about your experience kind of going through the training, what you learned about yourself and maybe how that could apply to your team. Just give us, just a quick snapshot of that. That would be great.
Well, okay. Thank you for the opportunity, Stoney. And I really enjoyed going through this. I've taken a lot of personality tests through the years, so I wasn't really sure what to expect with this, but I love the fact that this focused on your true strengths and what was right with you and not what was wrong, and to focus on the strengths. And when he opened it up and he talked about how uniquely different we all are, and the odds of having the same strengths as anybody else on this planet, especially when you go down through the first 5 or 10 strengths, it just made me realize how we should all be just grateful for the strengths that God has gifted us with, and not try to be somebody that we're not. And I've done plenty of that in my life, and it's not a comfortable place to be.
I love that, and you focused on that. And I picked that up too. It's like your strengths are your strengths, right? They're the things that are really going to help you. And if you focus on those and how you can use those, then all of a sudden that's where you're really your best, right? And you can help
Right.
someone else. I love that part of that. Did you learn anything new about yourself in that process? Did you find you had maybe parts and pieces of you that you didn't know you had before?
Well, more than anything, I think it just confirmed what I already knew, but I was maybe afraid to articulate it because I wasn't, just the indecision. Well, is that really me, or is it just because I'm trying to be like somebody else? I learned one thing I learned is that not to compare myself with other people. And for instance, at a gathering, they talked a little bit about this, but I've always envied the person who could just walk into a room full of people, big as life, probably like Paul is, I don't know, but just and can just start conversations with everybody, and they're the life of the party. And I've always wanted to be more like that, but that is not who I am. I would rather relate more on a one-on-one. And so that was one of the things that was brought out. And the first thing that my top strength is strategic, which talked about by nature, I see solutions before other people may even see that there's a problem. And I have this like details just come to me. And so I just learned to appreciate that and say, hey, that's who I am. And so I'm going to use that gift as much as I can to help other people who may have a strength of seeing the bigger picture that I don't see.
I love that. Once you understand what your strengths are, all of a sudden you look at how they apply to everything you do. You look at how they apply to who you work with. And if I remember right, you had 4 or 5 in relationship building. I might be missing.
Yeah, it was 5 with that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, I think that definitely encompasses you. I know that's who you are and what you do. Do you think there are ways that you would be able to help your team by virtue of understanding this and helping them kind of tackle their strengths? Do you think you'll be able to use that pretty well?
Yes, I do. And it made me think of certain people on our team as we were going through some of these. And I can see how some people are trying to fit into a role that just isn't clearly who they are and that they're not comfortable with. So I think it will help me to say, let's solve this problem together. Like, let's see what you are unique at and how do you feel best about what you naturally do that makes you feel good and positive about your actions. And maybe it will help people to not be so afraid to step up and lead where they can lead, but not set expectations for themselves to be like somebody else. And just that's what I'm hoping will come out of this.
I love that. Maggie, that's perfect. It's like you said, it's about understanding what your strengths are, being able to use those and really make things, so for lack of a better term, flow through those strengths, right? So
Right.
excellent. Well, understanding that you are the relationship builder you are and that you do the things you do, I know without a question you're going to be fantastic at helping other people understand what their strengths are and really grow that. So Maggie, that was perfect. And like I said, I really appreciated just how you were able to understand that and really incorporate it into what you're doing, which is what great training is all about, right? It's about understanding who you are and what you can do. So great job, Maggie. I appreciate that. Judy, I'm going to ask you this next, kind of the same question, but you can give us your perspective on that. What did you learn about yourself in this training? I mean, what was your experience basically? What did you come out with?
Well, I've always been that person that was apologizing for who I am and trying to be somebody else. And why can't I be more like that person? Why can't I, crush LinkedIn like Paul is, or why can't I be Danielle or Kelly? And I think a lot of us seem to get caught in that trap of why can't I be somebody else because they're successful? And I think this is a good example of success leaving clues. And if you look at each one of these amazing, successful people that we have, that we look to for leadership in our business, in our life, and it's an example of that they have learned to build off their strengths. And this was just a platform for us to discover the same exact thing in ourselves, that just because we don't have money to match the level of success that we're looking for yet does not discredit the confidence we can have in ourselves based on who we know we are and where we're going. So I learned, it was very shocking because I would have thought, based on my last 2 years of building this social media thing and trying to do cold market, because that's all I had, building in Canada and then not being able to sell here. And I would have thought, and looking at my social media, and what I would have thought, what relationship and influencer would have been high for me. That's what I thought. So I was very confused, I have to say, at the beginning. And I was like, what is wrong? This test is wrong, because I am not an executor and strategic. Like, what is that even, right? Like, that was how I was looking at it. But to have it explained to me in a way that Eddie did, and a lot of us on that training kind of back and forth with each other, it was a realization that it's not that I don't build relationships, it's that I'm more strategic. I look for qualities in people that I want to build relationships with. And instead of walking into a room and just making friends, I kind of need to know, whether that's virtual or real, whether I have to kind of know the basics of who the crowd is, who I'm talking to, and what it is. I like to sit back and observe them. And so I want to know a little bit about somebody, and based on that, is it a relationship that will I be able to bring value to, and will they bring value to me, and together we can go towards vision, which is huge for me, right? So I learned to be unapologetically myself, and if that's not okay with me, it's okay. It's okay to not, if learning in a certain way is the way you are, it's okay to be that way. And that lists are so important to me, and to be okay with lists upon lists, and then even to make lists of the lists I have. And when he said, some of you guys that are high executors and strategic are going to be people who, when you wake up in the morning, you have this list, and then you realize you did something today, like, let's say I had laundry and I didn't put it on the list, and I did the laundry, I'll go put laundry on the list just to check it off, to say I did it. And I feel good about that. So watch where your energy is flowing. And if you're feeling down, a low energy, it just means you're tapping into a weakness, not a strength. So that was something, those are some big things I learned.
Man, that is impressive and very insightful. What I love most about what you said was, well, I loved all of what you said, but what I loved mostly about it was you talked about, trying to be someone else, right? There's this idea, I think, within our industry, and I think just even interpersonally when we're working with people, that we have to be someone else to get where we're trying to get to. I think you did such a good job of basically saying, look, I can be the best version of myself, and that's enough, right? That be understanding my strengths and using those strengths to do what I need to do is enough for me to be, whoever I need to be, and accomplish whatever I want to accomplish. And so I love the fact that you talk about that. And I also, as a follow to that, I had things on my list that I didn't necessarily, I didn't know what they were. I thought they should have been on my list. And I thought, well, how's this not on my list, right? But what you said was part of that was understanding what that meant, right? You said that very well. I didn't understand some of those words, and you talked about that, because you are awesome at building relationships, right? But you just do them in your way, according to your strength. Yeah.
Well, that's a good example, because I do get a lot of people either on my team, and I think this is going to help me help my team better, or anyone who comes to me and says, like, in full transparency here, says to me, well, of course you can do this online thing. I mean, of course you can, like, you build relationships. And now I can basically on paper say, actually, no. Actually, I would be technically defying the odds of who I really am to do this, to make it work. So someone who's high relationship, high influencer can definitely crush the online and the presence, but anybody can. Now, this is proof that anybody can. It does not matter where you go or what strategic way you put it, as long as you are 100% doing it your way, your energy. You know how many people sign up with me just because of energy and belief in what I have, not because I said something right, not because I posted the perfect words, just because I was able to tap into my own amazing, like, feeling about all this. And yes, maybe I'm strategically posting. Maybe I'm going, what's the energy today? Let me post this. It's strategic. So for me, it's strategic. And also for me, and this was a bit of an argument I had with Eddie, love Eddie, here was my thing is like, and I said to him, but you're saying we shouldn't look at everybody else and how they're being, like, shouldn't I tap into who they are so I know which part of what I should give them and how I should? And he's like, no. And I said, why not? And he says, but does that energize you? I said, yes, it does. And he says, well, there you go. That's you. That's your strategic. That's your way of doing it. And I'm like, oh, so, okay, that's my way. I love to read people. I love to learn how to work with body language. I love that. It energizes me, and that's okay. I can do that, but also not expect someone else to have to do it my way, to tap in. And I think this is the example of the difference between a coach and a leader. A coach has it written down in steps of how your team should do it based on you. A leader taps in to each individual person in their organization and explains it 12 different ways so that each person can tap into their own strength versus this is how I do it, so everyone needs to do it, right?
Man, I love that, and well said. I mean, that's exactly kind of the idea that you understand what your strengths are. You're willing to work around those strengths because you know that is what people relate to you about. It's like you said, you're talking about how you're tapped into energy. I love that you said that because every time I look at one of your posts, you and I are on a Zoom, whatever that is, that energy is present, right? It's first and foremost because that is one of your strengths. And I love the fact that you're able to dial into that, but most importantly, understand what that is and why that makes you truly unique. And man, dude, that was perfect. That's exactly what. So one more quick follow-up. Teaching your teams and talking to them. How do you think this will impact kind of your conversation with them when you're talking to them? You talked about a little bit, but just maybe a little follow-up on that. How do you think this will impact how you work with them?
I definitely think that at a certain point, I want everyone to do it. And I think it's going to help. I had a lot of light bulb moments, and it's going to help me get on the phone with each person and ask the right questions. Like, what empowers you? If posting 3 times a day drains your energy, then why am I as a leader saying this is how it's to be done? And instead ask the right questions to help bring the strengths out. And I think that's where we will need to, as leaders and each person doing this class, help us be better at leading our team. And that was my biggest struggle, and still my biggest struggle is how to lead when I'm saying this is how it should be done. How did I do it? Okay, posting 3 times. You want my steps? This is what I did. So now instead, really tailor it to each person, and also understanding who wants to do it and what their level of wanting to do it is, where their strengths are, and help them. So that's going to be my challenge for myself, really. So I'm here to learn, always learning.
No, we're all learning. It's perfect. And I love what you said. I really kind of walked away, and you guys can think our sort of counter on this, but I walked away from that feeling like, okay, everyone knows, you can show someone what they're supposed to do. And as they're working, as they're getting started and they're defining how that feels and works for them, then that's your chance to really lead, right? And say, okay, here's maybe a tailored experience. Here's things you can add according to your strengths that are going to help you to accomplish what we're doing. And I love the fact that you brought all that up because, Judy, that was perfect. Really well done. So thank you. And again, thanks for leadership. Paul, it's so good to get a chance to visit with you again. Paul, I know that you, how many influencers did you have? I can't remember. What was it?
So I'm actually very, very extremely high in strategic. And then my second highest is relationship. Those are 2 pretty much maxed out. And my bottom is execution. So, so what's funny is what I want to comment on what some of the things Maggie said, and then I'll get into some of the Judy thing, because I think they were both brilliant. Yes. But first I want to kind of preface everybody a little bit. When you read this, don't assume that this is the weakest thing and that's you're super weak in that area. It means that you're more powerful in other areas, because nobody would say that my execution's lacking. I mean, we built a $1.5 billion company and everything else. So what it is, and I'll use Maggie's example. So I walk into a room and she said that, oh, I wish I could walk into a room like Paul does. And I will, that is my strength, right? Being able to meet people. And I put everybody's business card in this networking thing in my pocket. And then what do? I don't know where I put the business cards 2 days later. So my execution there, because I don't make those lists like everybody makes. So I could beat myself up, but what I've done, and before I took this test, I had no idea that I did this automatically. And many of us are doing these and have overcome these weaknesses by our strengths automatically without any kind of training, right? Because we all live a perfect life, right? We pay our bills and we, for the most part, and we feed ourselves. I'm talking about the rare basics, right? We're all alive. So that means we're doing something right, you know? So obviously you master some of these skills, but there's things that you're better at than others. Maybe, you know, I pay my electric bill on the 15th when it's due on the 1st, and you pay it on the 31st of the month prior. You know, that would mean, you know, that's your execution level. But when the guy comes to turn off the electric, I may be able to convince him not to and let me pay the bill right there on the spot, right? So we find our ways to overcome. What the gel has done for everybody is give us a state of homeostasis. We, you know, we balance our hormones. Well, I think coining a word that's not even a real word is psychostasis, where I think this training is going to give us psychostasis. We're going to know where we are in our mind. So the way I overcome and the way I was able to build a team is I found people who I could hand all those business cards to and say, hey, you're on my team. Here's a whole bunch of leads, because they are maybe a great executor, right? So what you do is you find those teams. So utilize this thing not to be offended, not to be nervous, not to think you're a loser or you're a superstar. It's just a matter of, hey, stop fighting your weaknesses and start playing towards your strengths every single day, every single day. I do believe as we get better at this, we're going to recognize things in other people, and that would help too. So I just wanted to comment on that. And Judy had a lot of really good points too, but I don't want to, you know, I don't want to let those weaknesses overpower your strengths and make you so nervous about it. Okay. And it's very liberating once you step back and realize that, oh, it's not that I'm weak. It's that here's where I'm really strong. It's very liberating to really look at that. And look at it properly. So I want to kind of get everybody's mind ready for this, because you may be nervous and you may try to trick if you haven't taken the test yet, okay, you're probably going to try to manipulate it some way. Don't do that, all right? Especially if you're going to score as high in strategic. And if you did take the test and you just took it and you're like, oh my God, I'll never be able to do this business, that's absolutely not true. It's the opposite. It really is the opposite. And I think Judy did a good point of pointing it out. Maggie, you know, you did a really, really good job of really just letting people know that there's a business here. And if we know ourselves, you're going to be able to run the business. You were concerned about some of the things that were not powerful for you, thinking it was impossible. But I think you have direction, right? Many of us walked out of this thing with tremendous direction.
Love that. Paul, first of all, I want to say, psychostasis. Now we're going to make that a word, because I really like that word. That sounds like something that we should just be talking about all the time. So that's great. Second part of that is, you know, for you personally, when you learned a little bit about your strengths and things like that, were there things that you walked away from, like thinking this will change some of the things I do? Did you feel like there were parts and pieces of you, because I know how effective you are as a leader, but you thought, you know what, this will impact me personally in a particular way, like I'll change this particular thing? Was that something that sort of set in for you?
Absolutely. What it did was give me the confidence to know where my weaknesses are, where my strengths are. So when I commented on playing chess, now when I look at my organization, it looks even clearer to me. I was doing many of these things naturally, but now that I have commitment and direction to this is who I am, now I'm going to look at people differently. In fact, when we start recognizing these traits in other people, somebody we may have said, nah, this guy's not right for the business, maybe the actual opposite. They may be the yin to our yang, you know? So I would look for people who are very organized or very high on execution, and I can give them everything else that they're lacking, right? So now that's building a strong organization.
I love the fact that you brought that up, because strength of your team is so important in it. It's like you said, you keyed on this so quick. Now you kind of know the strengths of various people within the group, and there may be certain things that you're having people do that, you know, you wouldn't have known before. And the reality is it is that strength. It's all that together that really creates dynamic and growing and stable groups long term. So I completely agree with that, Paul. I think you absolutely nailed that.
It may take away some of our selfishness, right? Think about it in this aspect. So I have a new recruit coming in, and I know that they would work perfect with this other person. Because say, no, but it's best for me to put them here. You want to plant people in the soil that really, really will make them blossom. That's what that's what really, really makes a good organization. And we could talk about how that relates to placement and things like that on deeper trainings, but it's really something to be aware of.
I love that. I love that. Do you think people will, this is kind of a crazy question, but like people, when they're kind of embracing their strengths and embracing who they are and what they do, because I had this kind of epiphany when I was taking the training. I thought, a lot of the things I've done in the past, I think I spent all of my time, and you talked about this early on, just kind of focusing on my weaknesses. I thought, well, I'm not strong at this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend my time really just kind of keying in on, this one thing that I'm trying to develop. Right. And I know you guys all had the same sort of experience. So do you think that people do you think that will be one of the most difficult things, just not focusing on your weaknesses? And Judy talked about this too, you guys kind of all did, and just having people focus on those strengths so that and recognizing that's where your power comes from. Do you think that might be one of the most difficult transitions in the process? Or do you think it might be something else? I'm just curious what your thoughts are about that.
Yeah, I actually brought that up with Eddie, that there's going to be a certain muscle memory, right? And I do this thing of what I teach, the mama syndrome. We run home the mama, the things that we're most comfortable with, right? And if that is mimicking or mirroring someone else or an old strategy we're using, when we're under pressure in a call or a Zoom or something, we're going to tend to go back. So we need to correct ourselves. It's not going to be an overnight thing. I liken it to, if you've ever played golf and you develop a golf swing and now you want to get better, so you go for lessons and you go for those golf lessons and your game is completely destroyed. In fact, Tiger Woods went through this. Tiger Woods, when he switched to Chuck Harmon or whatever, he completely changed his swing, and it took him out of the leaderboard for a good year until he found that new swing path. So be careful, do it gradually. Also, don't be a bully. The opposite could be true. Don't believe in your strength so much that you're going to barrel through people saying, I don't care, this is going to work because I know I'm going to go to my strengths and I'm strategic and I'm going to, you got to be careful. So, baby steps, and then develop that muscle memory.
I love that. No, Paul, excellent point. That's kind of what I was hoping you'd bring out. So it's perfect. Well, guys, I know I've had you for 20 minutes or so, but first of all, I just want to tell each of you, thank you for your comments. They were all they were right on time. And I want to key in on something you guys have said. We realize this is a gradual step. Once you learn about your strengths, obviously, we don't want to start someone off by saying, okay, you got to walk through this strengths test. Obviously, we're getting people involved. We're getting them engaged in our business, and we're getting them started. But I think as they're moving along and as they're growing within the business, we'll be able to share with them those strengths and how they can make those work and how they can change. And you'll get to see more coming from us relative to these particular trainings and strengths as we all kind of gather what those are. And we talk about how you can really use them effectively in terms of what you do. And you guys each talked about that. So I really appreciate that. But I just wanted to end this call by saying you guys, each of you are truly unique. It's been fun for me, because I say that all the time. It's been fun for me to kind of go through this training, watch as we're able to label what that uniqueness really is. And it's been an amazing process to watch. I'm so excited for anybody who watches this Zoom, particularly if they're a part of this particular event, to identify what those strengths are, recognize that own uniqueness about themselves, and really see how that plays out and how they can really make that work for them in the future. So guys, you guys were perfect. Thanks for being on the Zoom. You guys are spectacular. And I'll look forward to seeing you guys soon. And to all of you, I'll let you guys wave bye with me too. To all of you that are watching, we appreciate you being here. You guys are awesome. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stoney.
Hello, everybody. I'm Joe Giuliano, and it's exciting to be with you. I hope you're enjoying the Unleash Your Strength event so far. I know this morning's been amazing with the Clifton strength training. Eddie Villa is an amazing trainer, and the information that we can take and apply it practically to our lives. It just was unbelievable. Our mastermind group, we went through it earlier, and I'm excited because it works together with everything that we want to teach you here today. And it's all about building your business and income producing activities. And that is what is so strong. So when you take your strengths and you parlay them with New You Life strengths and accomplishments, the sky is the limit. And let me give you an example. We're all unique, and you're learning that. God doesn't make any junk. He makes each one of us different and unique. And then you take a person like yourself that's very excited about what's in your hands. And that's the New You Life products and the opportunity that it creates. Just how exciting is this, that we didn't sit here and want to know your personality type and what your weaknesses are. We want to know your strengths so you can go out there and be excited and take your story to the world. And, it's amazing that I'm saying this, the world, only after 3 years of New You Life being in existence. But what I want you to know first about the company, if you're someone that's new to us and you don't know this story, our first year with a skeleton crew and a small group of excited people, it was absolutely amazing what happened. Most companies, they're happy to do $1 million in volume or business their first year. I have to tell you, our first year at New You Life, we did $60 million in business. Talk about exceeding the norm. When so many companies don't make it, New You Life did $60 million in business. In August of last year, we were named the fastest growing young direct sales company in the world. So that's what you have. You're going to take your strengths and you're going to put it with a company that has grown to phenomenal heights, expanding international markets because we brought a product to the world that the world has never seen. It's so innovative, but it's something that people have sought after for so long. So the first thing that we want you to realize, I want you to realize, Alexi, the team, all of us helping one another succeed, is that you have the most unique product that I've ever seen. I think that most people have ever seen, and that's Somaderm. We have something that everyone wants. They can't get it anywhere else. They have to come through us, okay? So the only element that's missing, and this is what's so exciting about, us talking about our strengths, is that element is each one of us, okay? And I just want to give you a few practical things to take into the marketplace as we close out this morning session and you get ready to learn from some of the top trainers, not just in this company, in the world. That's what we're going to deliver to you today. The first thing that I want you to promise that you will do, and I think it's just gonna naturally happen, is that you won't compare yourself to anyone else. I've been doing this business a long time, and this is a common thing. You have leaders that stand out, that make these great accomplishments, and they make all this money and they have these big teams, but they didn't get there. They didn't just arrive there with this great story and this great income and these huge teams. They each had a journey. Each of us has a journey. Each of us has a path. We all came to New You Life for different reasons, but many of us have similar goals, and many of us are going to have similar paths, but that doesn't mean we compare ourselves to anyone else. The journey that has led us to this place, to be a part of New You Life, for those of you that are here to build a business, you're here for a reason. There was a story that has already started to develop in your life from your business life as an adult that led you to the start of New You Life. One of the first things I want you to take a note on in my short segment is I want you to think about that story of why you're here, okay? And I want you to be able to tell that story. That's the first thing. The story of why you ended up at New You Life. Because when you're going to be talking about New You Life as your company, this is your opportunity. You're the CEO of your company. Just think, every CEO tells hundreds, thousands of people why he or she started that company. That was their story. There was a need. There was a reason that they ended up there. There's a reason that you ended up here. I want you to develop that story. The reason that Lee and I ended up in direct sales was that we didn't want our children to grow, have daycare. We wanted to grow up with our children, and I was always traveling in my work. So I wanted to be home, and we wanted Lee and I to both raise the kids. And that's part of our story of how we ended up in direct sales. I want you to figure out what your story is. And I want you to start developing it so that when you're talking to someone, you can share that and share it with passion. Take a note on that. The second thing is, I want you to be genuine. Okay? And if you're not comparing yourself to anyone else and you're sharing that story, you're going to be genuine. And what you just learned in this morning's training through Clifton Strengths is that you're going to focus on what makes you strong. You're going to focus on what makes you great. You're going to focus on what makes you enjoy this journey that you're on. So make sure that you start working on that story that got you here. Why are you here? Okay? And what led you to be a part of it. It may be as simple as you got your hands on this incredible product and you never expected to get excited about a business and you had an incredible result. And then you just start sharing. That might be it. But if it is, don't change it. It's your story. And whatever that is, it's going to help you start this journey. And it's going to help you parlay them with New You Life's incredible 3-step system. This is the other thing before I close that I want you to know. You don't have to know everything. Our 3-step system, you're going to hear about it a lot today. It's all about income producing activities. First one's peak interest. The second one's share information. And the third one is where people make it difficult. And guys, this is a simple business. It's not always easy. You just have to connect the dots and follow the system. That third part, I really want you to delve into. It's called collecting the decision. And this is where you don't have to know everything. This is where people make it difficult in home-based business. They try to be a scientist. They try to be a closer. They try and be all these things that they're not. That's why we have a system called collecting the decision where we do 3-way calls. We have experts to help answer your people's questions. This is something that you're going to learn today. We have expert presentations, Gel and Tells, Freedom Lives that we use on Facebook where people can see a live business presentation. And the Gel and Tells, they're hearing about other people's story and they're sitting there thinking, wow, I want to be a part of this. And then the most effective thing, you're going to hear a lot about this today, is 3-way calling. This is why I'm asking you not to try and know everything before you get started. You will learn along the journey. And when you share information with your prospects and people who are using the product and they have questions, this is the perfect time to plug them in to some of the upline experts that you're going to meet along your journey. Find out who they are. Put your prospects on the phone so they can get their questions answered. And guess what's going to happen while this phone call or this meeting is taking place? You're going to be getting on-the-job training because you just be honest with your prospect and say, hey, I'm new at this. There's a lot I have to learn. I like that question. Let me see if I could line up a phone call with an expert who I believe can answer those questions. And you'll see what I mean. When you connect these dots, when you're genuine, when you have your story laid out and you're delivering it the way that you always deliver things. Be yourself, use your strengths. you build on that story as you're growing your New You Life company, because that's going to happen. Your story's going to continue. And use the system. Keep it simple, keep it duplicatable, and that's going to cause the excitement, bring the excitement that's going to cause your business to go through the ceiling. Guys, this is an exciting time to be a part of New You Life as we just start to go international. Things are happening, things are exploding. We're glad you're a part of it as brothers and sisters in this New You Life family. God bless you. Enjoy the rest of the day. It's going to be incredible. Thanks again for your time.
Well, first and foremost, wasn't that incredible? I mean, just in the last little while, you've got to hear from Maggie, you've got to hear from Judy, you've got to hear from Joe, our master distributor, you've got to hear from Paul. These leaders have really spoken out and talked about the strengths and the things you can really master by virtue of understanding those strengths. Now, there's something I really want for you to understand by virtue of having been through this training, and it is really simply this, that you are truly unique, that because of the strengths you have, because of the things you do that no one else does, you're absolutely one of a kind. What I learned by virtue of going through this training was simply this, that those strengths, those things that I possess, the things that I can do, are enough. And I'm hoping that by virtue of that you've walked away with the very same feeling like the strengths I have, the things I can do, are enough for me to move forward, and frankly, enough for you to achieve whatever you want to achieve within the business. So I'm super excited, and I'm hoping that's what you walked away with. My second piece of just advice is simply this. Now that you understand that, now that you know what your strengths are, here's what I want you to do. Use those strengths to kind of tackle those daily activities. We've been talking about them for the last 30 days at least, right? We know we're asking you to share every day. We know you're asking you to follow up every day. We know we're asking you to do 15 minutes of professional development. But I want you to remember that if you attach those activities to what you're doing relative to your strengths, then they become easier and they become more you. And then those activities can turn into the things that we all talk about, which is becoming U5 qualified, or maybe recruiting new distributors. However that looks, that's how you get there. That is your path. So whatever you do, tap into your strengths, and most importantly, tap into your future, because that's where all of that stuff lies. I'm so glad you got a chance to be a part of it. I want to share one more quick thing with you. Guys, we have a session coming up, 4 p.m. Eastern time. I want to make sure you're there. When you go there, you're going to learn, you're going to have corporate updates. You're going to get incredible training from Thomas DeLauer. You're going to get incredible training from field leaders. And you're going to get all the stuff that you've been asking about. So make sure you're there. And I'm looking forward to seeing you at 4 p.m. Eastern time.